Today, thanks for stopping by the shop. Now, we're going to get into the sharpening. So, the tools first get sharpened, or the edges get a little tuned up if they need to, like this one. You can kind of see, yeah, seen better days. So that is going to get tuned up on the bench grinder first, like this one. This one I did already on the bench grinder. Now, if you don't see how that is basically straight, probably still needs a little bit there. Let's see this one. Yeah, if you don't get rid of there, if you don't get rid of those little divots on the grinder, your stone's not really going to be that effective, and your stone is not meant to take away those divots. So chisels get used for a variety of things, and unlike our turning tools, these only get used for one thing. But you still need to maintain your shape. Even on these, you need to maintain your shape. So if you want to break out your whetstone, or whether you're going to use water or oil, make sure that you're cleaning your edges up first on your bench grinder. Now, a lot of people, when they're using their bench grinder, they'll use different jigs and things like that, which is fine. So you always want to make sure that you're resting your bevel against the stone. So here we're at the bench grinder. I always try really hard to keep my stone straight. This has a tiny little divot in it. I'll go over to this one here. I'll show you this one. For some reason, I've got a radius edge here. I'm not really sure. Must have been one of my turning tools that was on there. When this goes here, I just use this as a guide. I don't use those little contraption things, although I'm sure they're great. You always just want to make sure that your bevel is resting on your stone, and when you're using your stone, you always want to just be going back and forth like this. Keep that straight, and keep the divots on the golf green, not on your wheel. If you use your grinder a lot, look for a wheel dresser. They're not that expensive, and you can use that to flatten out your stone. When we're using our whetstones, so this has the coarse and the fine side. Different, like, of course, chefs with their knives, they'll have different stones, and they'll keep them in water a lot of times. So this isn't the stone that I use the water on. I'm going to use oil on this one. Once I use this one with oil, I'll never be able to go back to water. So this is the one that has the damaged edge. You should be able to see that on there. And I'm going to do this just to show you that it'll work it down a little bit. There, you can see it's already starting to work. So just like on your piece of wood, your chisel rests on the work and removes the debris. So we're holding on that same angle, and you're just going back and forth like this. I like to go across my stone because I want to be able to keep myself from the creating a trough. Now, I'm just going to wipe this off for you. So I'm cleaning this side up, and I could keep going and this would get a mirror finish, but as I said earlier, it's never going to get rid of those divots. So you can see on this bottom camera, hopefully that's in focus there, it'll never get rid of those divots. It'll still sharpen my straight edges. Put a little more oil on here for you. I can do this till the cows come home. But it's never going to get rid of those divots. I need to take this to the grinder and straighten that edge. So your stone hones that edge, makes it nice and sharp. And it doesn't take much, especially if you have good quality steel. You can buy a cheap knife from a cheap store and it'll cut and you can make the steel nice. But the quality steel is going to hold your edge. Okay, so this one I ground straight. If you can see that right there. I ground this just so that you could see marks from the bench grinder and how this stone will take that off. Nice and sharp. As for the quantity of oil, not an expert. I just am using it to lubricate my tool. You can see it better when you're using the water of the metal coming off of the metal coming off into the water. It gets really cloudy and dark. So there you go. That's sharpening our chisels. It's getting really nice. There's just a little bit here. Honestly, I'm just going to leave that because I'm running out of time. You can see there's a bit of a shine on it, and that's because I had put some of this polishing compound down here, and I just was shining this up a little bit before I turned the camera back on. So, same principle of the stone. And of course you don't have to do this. This would be more for my carving tools where I would use the polishing compound. And I didn't use the fine side for this, but burning daylight and I have to go do a few other things. So thanks for joining me today in the shop. Feel free to leave a comment and a thumbs up here on YouTube.